The underground training bunker smelled like metal and sweat. 20 young recruits stood in 3 rows, their gray uniforms still new and stiff. They had been training for only 6 weeks. None of them had ever seen real combat. None of them expected to see it today. Stood in the back row. She was 22 years old, small in height, with short black hair that barely touched her shoulders. She was a medic trainee, not a fighter. Her job was to learn how to save lives, not take them. She held a medical tablet in her hands and watched the main screen at the front of the room. Instructor stood before them. He was a tall man with gray hair and a scar across his left cheek. He had fought in the First Contact War 15 years ago. He had seen things that still gave him nightmares. But today, he was calm. Today was just another training session. The global defense system connects every bunker on Earth, instructor said. His voice was deep and steady. It controls our shields, our weapons, and our communication. Without it, we are blind. That is why it never fails. Wrote notes on her tablet. She already knew this information. Everyone did. The system was humanity's greatest achievement. After the aliens first attacked Earth 20 years ago, humans built something incredible. A network that connected every military base, every weapon, and every soldier. It made them strong. It kept them safe. Today we will practice defense formations, instructor continued. Team leaders step forward. 3 recruits moved to the front. Was the first. He was tall and strong with a serious face. He was born to be a soldier. Next to him stood a sharp-eyed woman who never missed a target. The third was a communications specialist who could hack any system. Watched them with respect. They were the best in the class. She was just a medic. Her job was to stay in the back and help the wounded. That was fine with her. She did not want to be a hero. She just wanted to help people. The training began. The recruits moved into formation. Instructor gave orders through his neural link, a small device behind his ear that connected him to the system. Everything was normal. Everything was routine. Then the lights flickered. Looked up. The main screen showed static for 1 second. Then it returned to normal. She thought nothing of it. Small glitches happened sometimes. The system always fixed itself. But then the lights flickered again, and this time they did not stop. A loud alarm filled the bunker. Red lights flashed on the walls. Felt her heart beat faster. She had heard this alarm in training videos. It meant only one thing. System failure. Stay calm, instructor said, but his voice was not calm anymore. He pressed his hand to the neural link behind his ear. His eyes went wide. The system is. It's not responding. I cannot connect. The recruits looked at each other. Fear spread through the room like cold water. The system never failed. It could not fail. Their entire defense depended on it. Then instructor screamed. He grabbed his head with both hands. Blood came from his nose. His eyes rolled back. He fell to the ground and did not move. Instructor ran to him. He checked his pulse. He's alive but unconscious. The neural feedback. It must have hit him when the system crashed. Pushed through the crowd. She was a medic. This was her job. She knelt beside instructor and checked his vital signs. His brain was in shock from the sudden disconnection. He would live, but he would not wake up for hours. What do we do? Someone asked. The voice was shaking. No one answered. The 20 recruits stood in silence. The alarms kept screaming. The red lights kept flashing, and they had no leader. Then a new sound came. It was deep and low like thunder underground. The floor shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ran to the communication panel. His fingers moved fast. I'm trying to contact the main base, but nothing is working. We're completely cut off. The shield said. Her voice was tight. If the system is down, the shields are down too. Felt cold. The shields protected the bunker from alien attacks. Without them, they were exposed. They were vulnerable. And that sound, that deep rumbling sound. They're coming, said quietly. Everyone heard him. Everyone knew what he meant. The aliens had been waiting, watching, looking for weakness, and now they had found it. Looked at the faces around her. These were not soldiers. They were students. Children, really. Most of them had never held a real weapon. Most of them had joined the military because it was their duty, not because they wanted to fight. And now they were going to die. The thought hit like a punch to the chest. No, she could not accept that. She would not accept that. "We need to move," she said. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. People looked at her, felt their eyes on her face. She was just a medic, she had no authority, but someone had to speak, someone had to act. "The emergency protocols," she continued. "We learned them in week 2. If the system fails, we switch to manual control. The weapons, the shields, they can all be operated by hand." "But we don't know how," a young man said. His name was, he was only 19. "We only practiced with the system." "Then we learned fast," said. She walked to the main control panel. Her hands were shaking, but she did not stop. "Can you access the manual override?" Stared at her for a moment, then he nodded. "Maybe, it's old technology, but I can try." "Do it," said. She turned to, "You're the best fighter here. Take 5 people and guard the main entrance. Nothing gets through." Did not argue. He pointed at 5 recruits and moved toward the door. Looked at the weapon systems. "Can you operate them without the system?" Smiled. It was a small, dangerous smile. "I can operate anything with a trigger." "Good, take the artillery room. Shoot anything that isn't human." Grabbed her rifle and ran. The other recruits watched. They were still scared. But now they had direction, they had orders, they had hope. Took a deep breath. She did not know if her plan would work. She did not know if they would survive the night. But she knew one thing for certain. She would not let her people die without a fight. The bunker shook again. The aliens were getting closer. Looked at the unconscious form of instructor. He had taught them everything he knew. Now it was their turn to use it. "Everyone else with me," said. "We have work to do." And so it began. Not with generals or heroes, but with a young medic who refused to give up. The system had failed. But humanity had not. The control room was dark except for the red emergency lights. Stood at the center, holding a tablet that showed a map of the bunker. Her heart was beating so fast she could feel it in her throat, but she kept her face calm. The others needed her to be calm. 12 recruits stood around her. The others had gone with and to defend the bunker. These 12 were the ones with technical skills, engineers, medics, and support staff. They were not fighters, but tonight everyone would have to fight. "Report," said. His fingers danced across the keyboard. Sweat ran down his face. "I found the manual override. The good news is that the shields can work without the system. The bad news is that someone has to control them by hand, and the power is limited." "How limited?" "Maybe 2 hours at full strength. After that, the backup generators will die." 2 hours. Closed her eyes for 1 second. 2 hours to survive until help arrived, if help was coming at all. "What about communication?" she asked. Shook his head. "Nothing. Every channel is dead. The system crash was not an accident. Someone or something caused it. They jammed our signals too." The aliens were smart. Everyone knew that. They had traveled across the stars to reach Earth. They had technology that humans could barely understand, but this was different. This was planned. This was an attack. "Then we survive on our own," said. She looked at the map on her tablet. The bunker had 3 main entrances, was guarding the north entrance, was in the artillery room above the east entrance. The south entrance was still unprotected. Said. The young man stepped forward. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. "Take 3 people to the south entrance. Hold it as long as you can." "With what?" asked. "We only have training rifles. They're barely strong enough to hurt those things." "Then aim for their eyes," said, "and don't miss." Nodded. He grabbed 3 recruits and left, watched them go. She hoped she would see them again. The bunker shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The aliens were breaking through the outer walls. Could hear them now, a clicking sound like thousands of insects moving in the dark. "Shields up," she ordered. Activated the manual controls. A low hum filled the bunker as the energy shields came online. On the map, could see the blue glow surrounding the bunker. It would hold for now, but not forever. A voice crackled through the old radio system. It was, "Contact at the north entrance. I count at least 30 of them. They're testing the shields." "Hold your position," said. "Don't waste ammunition until they break through." "Understood." Another voice came through. "I have visual on the east side. There are more coming from the tunnels, hundreds of them, maybe thousands." Felt cold, thousands. They had 20 recruits, limited weapons, and a shield that would last 2 hours. The math was simple. The math was terrible. But she could not show fear, not now. "Focus fire on the large ones," said. "They lead the groups. Kill them and the others will scatter." "How do you know that?" asked. Paused. She did not know, not really. It was a guess based on old reports from the First Contact War, but she said it with confidence. "Trust me." There was silence, then laughed. "Okay, little medic, let's see if you're right." The artillery guns began to fire. Each shot echoed through the bunker like thunder. On the map, watched red dots disappear. Was not missing. But more red dots appeared, and more and more. "They just keep coming," someone whispered. Turned to the recruits in the control room. They were watching the map with horror in their eyes. She walked to the center of the room and raised her voice. "Listen to me," she said. "I know you're scared. I'm scared too, but fear will not save us. Only action will." She pointed at the map. "Every minute we hold this bunker, we give Earth time to send help. Every alien we kill is one less threat to our families, our cities, our home." She looked at each of them. "We are not soldiers. We are not heroes. We are just people who refuse to die, and that is enough. That has always been enough for humanity." The room was silent. Then a woman named stepped forward. She was a young engineer with oil stains on her uniform. "What do you need us to do?" Felt something warm in her chest. Hope. "I need power," she said. "The shield generators are running at maximum, but they're old. Find ways to boost them. Steal power from non-essential systems. Every extra minute matters." Nodded. "I can reroute power from the training simulators. They use a lot of energy." "Do it." Another recruit spoke up. His name was, he was a supply officer. "We have emergency weapons in the storage room. Real ones, not training rifles. No one told us because we weren't supposed to use them until graduation." Stared at him. "Why are you only telling me this now?" Looked embarrassed. I forgot, I'm sorry." Wanted to scream, but she took a deep breath instead. "Get them, distribute them to everyone, now." Ran out of the room. The radio crackled again. His voice came through and it was filled with fear. "South entrance is breached. They got through the outer door. We need help." His blood went cold. "Fall back to the inner door. Create a choke point. Make them come at you one at a time. There are too many. Then slow them down. I'm sending backup." She looked around the room. She had no one to send. Everyone had a job. But then she saw the unconscious form of instructor in the corner. They had carried him here for safety, and next to him was his weapon, a heavy combat rifle that only veterans were allowed to use. Picked it up. It was heavy in her hands. She had never fired a real weapon before, but there was a first time for everything. "You have command of the control room," she said. "Keep the shields up. Keep everyone alive." His eyes went wide. "Where are you going?" Walked toward the door. "To do my job, to save lives." She did not look back as she ran into the dark corridor. The sounds of battle grew louder. The clicking of alien claws, the screams of her people, the thunder of guns. She ran faster. When she reached the south entrance, she saw chaos. and 2 others were pressed against the wall, firing at a hole in the inner door. Through the hole she could see them, the aliens. They were tall, with pale skin and too many arms. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. One of them pushed through the hole, fired, but his shot went wide. The alien leaped toward him. Pulled the trigger. The combat rifle kicked against her shoulder like a mule. The alien's head exploded. Its body hit the ground and did not move. Everyone stared at her, stared at the dead alien. Her hands were shaking, her ears were ringing, but she was alive, and so were they. "Plug that hole," she ordered. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was not. "Use anything you can find. We hold this line." They moved, they worked, and together they held. The night was long, but had made her stand, and she would not fall. The battle had been going for 6 hours, had stopped counting the aliens she had killed. Her arms ached, her eyes burned. Blood covered her uniform, some of it hers, most of it not. The south entrance was secure now. They had used broken furniture, metal panels, and even parts of training equipment to block the hole in the door. It would hold for a while, long enough for to check on the others. She moved through the bunker like a ghost. Every few minutes, the walls shook from explosions. The shields were still holding, but's voice on the radio grew more worried each time he reported. 30% power remaining, he said. Maybe 90 minutes left. After that, we're exposed. 90 minutes. It felt like forever. It felt like nothing. Reached the north entrance where was stationed. The corridor here was filled with alien bodies. Stood in the center, his armor cracked and burned. His left arm hung at his side, useless. "You're hurt," said. Looked at her, his face was pale but calm. "It's not that bad." The bleeding stopped. Dropped her rifle and pulled out her medical kit. "Sit down, that's an order." For a moment looked like he would argue. Then he smiled, a tired, sad smile. "Yes, Commander." "I'm not a commander," said as she worked on his arm. "I'm a medic trainee." "Could have fooled me." She wrapped his arm in bandages and gave him a shot for the pain. It was not perfect work, but it would keep him fighting. That was all she could offer. "How many did we lose?" asked quietly. His face went dark. 2 here, and they held the line while I was down. By the time I got up, it was too late. Closed her eyes. She had known. He was quiet but kind. He always shared his food with others. And she was only 18. She had joined the military to pay for her mother's medicine. Now they were gone. Their sacrifice meant something, said. She did not know if she believed it, but she said it anyway. "Does it?" asked. "Does anything mean something when we're all going to die down here?" Looked at him. She saw the fear in his eyes, the doubt, the exhaustion. He had been their strongest fighter. Now he was breaking. "We're not going to die," she said. "How can you know that?" "I don't," admitted, "but I choose to believe it, and as long as I believe it, I can keep fighting. So can you." Stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood up, picked up his rifle with his good arm and nodded. "Then let's keep fighting." Moved on to the artillery room. The stairs were steep and her legs screamed with each step. When she reached the top, she found sitting on an ammunition crate, drinking water. The artillery guns were silent. "Taking a break?" asked. Pointed out the window. "They pulled back about 10 minutes ago. They just stopped. They're waiting for something." Looked outside. The alien horde had retreated to the edge of the bunker's shield range. Thousands of red eyes watched from the darkness, waiting, calculating. "That's not good," said. "No," agreed, "it's not." "What do you think they're planning?" Shrugged. "Something big. They've been testing our defenses all night, learning our patterns. Now they're going to use what they learned." His blood went cold. The aliens were intelligent, everyone knew that, but seeing their strategy in action was different. They were not mindless monsters. They were soldiers just like humans, and they had been studying. "How much ammunition do we have left?" asked. "Enough for maybe one more major assault. After that, we're throwing rocks." The radio crackled. His voice came through, filled with urgency. Something is happening. The shield readings are going crazy. They're doing something to the outer wall. Grabbed the radio. What kind of something? I don't know. The energy levels are spiking. It's like they're trying to overload the shields. His eyes went wide. The aliens had figured it out. They could not break through the shields with force, so they were going to make the shields break themselves. How long do we have? She asked. Minutes, maybe less. Looked at, get ready. When those shields fall, everything out there is coming in. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. Been waiting all night for a real fight. Ran back down the stairs. Her body was screaming for rest, but she ignored it. She gathered everyone she could find, and 6 others. They formed a line in the main corridor, the last defense before the control room. The shields began to flicker. Could see it through the cracks in the walls, blue light stuttering like a dying star. This is it, she said. Her voice was steady. Her hands were not. Whatever happens, we don't run, we don't give up. We fight until we can't fight anymore. And then asked. Then we fight some more. The shields died with a sound like breaking glass. For 1 second there was silence. Perfect, terrible silence. Then the aliens came. They poured through the walls like water through a broken dam. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Their claws scraped against the floor. Their eyes burned red in the emergency lights. Fire screamed. The corridor exploded with light and sound. Rifles roared. Artillery thundered from above. Bodies fell, alien and human alike. Fired until her rifle was empty. Then she grabbed another from a fallen recruit. She fired again, and again, and again. Time lost meaning. There was only the trigger, only the targets, only the desperate need to survive. She saw go down, pulled into the horde by too many claws. She saw standing alone against 3 aliens, fighting with nothing but a metal pipe. She saw things she would never forget. And still she fought. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, the aliens began to retreat, not because they had lost, but because dawn was coming. Their bodies could not handle sunlight. It was the only weakness humans had ever discovered. Stood in the ruined corridor surrounded by bodies. Her rifle was empty. Her uniform was torn. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. But she was alive. Count the survivors, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. The answer came slowly. Of 20 recruits, 17 remained. 3 had fallen during the night. Their names would be remembered. His voice came through the radio, filled with wonder. The main base is responding. They're sending rescue teams. ETA 30 minutes. Fell to her knees. The rifle slipped from her hands. She had done it. They had done it. They had survived the night. Around her, the survivors began to cry. Some laughed. Some just stared at nothing. They were broken in many ways, but they were alive. And that was a victory. Closed her eyes and let the darkness take her. She had earned her rest. Opened her eyes to white light. For a moment she thought she was dead. The light was too bright, too pure. It hurt her eyes and she raised a hand to block it. Her arm felt heavy, like it was made of stone. She's awake, a voice said. It was soft and professional, a doctor's voice. Blinked. The white light became a white ceiling. She was lying in a bed. A real bed with clean sheets and soft pillows. Not the cold floor of the bunker. Not the blood-soaked corridor. She was alive. Where am I? She asked. Her voice came out rough like she had been screaming for hours. Maybe she had. A face appeared above her. It belonged to a woman in a white coat with kind eyes. You're in the Central Medical Bay, Seoul City base. You've been unconscious for 3 days. 3 days, tried to sit up, but her body refused. Every muscle ached. Her head felt like someone had filled it with rocks. Don't move too fast, the doctor said. You suffered severe exhaustion, dehydration, and multiple minor injuries. Your body needs time to heal. The others said, My team, are they? They're fine. All 16 survivors are being treated here. You saved them, Lieutenant Park. Frowned. I'm not a lieutenant, I'm a trainee, a medic trainee. The doctor smiled, but there was something strange in her eyes, something that looked like respect. I think you'll find that's changed. Now rest. You have visitors coming and you'll want your strength. The doctor left, lay in the bed and stared at the ceiling. 3 days. What had happened in 3 days? Where was instructor? Where were and? She did not have to wait long for answers. An hour later, the door opened. Expected a nurse or maybe one of her team members. Instead, she saw uniforms. Military uniforms, decorated with medals and ribbons that she recognized from textbooks. These were not regular soldiers. These were generals. 3 of them walked into the room. 2 men and 1 woman, all with gray hair and hard faces. Behind them came more people, officers, officials, and people in suits who looked like politicians. Tried to sit up again, and this time she managed it, though her arms shook with the effort. Please don't strain yourself, the woman general said. Her name tag read Commander O. She was the highest-ranking officer in the Earth Defense Council, had seen her face in news broadcasts. She was a legend. And she was standing in hospital room. Commander managed to say, I don't understand. Why are you here? Commander O pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. The other generals remained standing. Everyone in the room was looking at like she was something precious, something important. It made her uncomfortable. Trainee Park, Commander O said. Her voice was formal but warm. Or should I say, Lieutenant Park, do you know what you did 3 days ago? Thought about it. The memories were blurry like a dream that was fading away. I tried to keep everyone alive. The system failed and the instructor was unconscious, so I just did what I thought was right. What you thought was right, Commander O repeated. She smiled, but there was sadness in it. Bunker 7 was not the only facility hit that night. The system crashed across the entire Asian continent. 47 bunkers, 32 military bases, 18 cities. Felt cold. She had not known. She had been so focused on her own battle that she had not thought about the bigger picture. The aliens launched a coordinated attack, Commander O continued. They had been planning it for months, maybe years. They found a way to shut down the system and hit us while we were blind. In most places, the results were catastrophic. She paused, her eyes met. But not in Bunker 7. In Bunker 7, a medic trainee took command of 20 recruits and held the line for 11 hours against an enemy that should have killed them all in minutes. You didn't just survive, Lieutenant. You did something that trained commanders failed to do across the continent. Shook her head. I just reacted. I didn't have a plan. I was terrified the entire time. Of course you were, Commander O said. That's what makes it remarkable. You were terrified and you fought anyway. You made decisions under pressure that saved lives. You inspired people to fight beyond their limits. She reached into her uniform and pulled out a small box. When she opened it, saw a medal inside. It was gold, shaped like a star, with a symbol in the center that recognized immediately. The Vanguard crest. This is the highest honor Earth can give to a soldier, Commander O said. It has been awarded only 12 times in history. The last time was 15 years ago, after the First Contact War. She placed the box in his lap. As of today, you are the 13th. From this moment forward, you are not just a lieutenant. You are a vanguard, a leader of humanity. Your voice carries the weight of Earth itself. Stared at the medal. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was too much. I can't accept this, she said. I'm not a hero. I'm just a medic who got lucky. They died. I couldn't save them. I don't deserve. They died because of the aliens, Commander O interrupted gently. Not because of you. Without you, everyone would have died. That is not luck, Lieutenant. That is leadership. Felt tears in her eyes. She had been holding them back for so long. The fear, the grief, the exhaustion, it all came flooding out at once. She cried in front of the most powerful people on Earth, and she did not care. Commander O waited. She did not rush, she did not tell her to be strong, she just waited. When finally stopped crying, she looked at the medal again. Her reflection stared back at her from the polished gold surface. She saw a young woman with tired eyes and messy hair. She did not see a hero. But maybe that was the point. "What happens now?" asked. Commander O stood up. "Now you rest and recover. When you're ready, we'll talk about your future. The war is not over, Lieutenant. In fact, it's just beginning. The aliens will attack again. Next time we need to be ready." She walked to the door, then stopped and looked back. "One more thing, your team asked to see you. I told them to wait until you woke up. Should I send them in?" Wiped her eyes and nodded. Moments later, the door burst open. Came in first, his arm in a sling. Behind him were, and the others, battered and bandaged but alive. They surrounded her bed, talking all at once, laughing and crying and hugging. For the first time in days, smiled. She still did not believe she was a hero. She still did not think she deserved the medal in her lap. But looking at her team, her people, she understood something. It did not matter what she believed. What mattered was that they were alive, and together they would face whatever came next. The Vanguard crest felt heavy in her hands, but was ready to carry it. 1 week after the attack, stood before a mirror in her new quarters. The face looking back at her was familiar but different. The same short black hair, the same quiet eyes, but something had changed behind those eyes, something that could never go back to the way it was. Her uniform was no longer gray. It was black with gold trim, the colors of a Vanguard. The medal hung over her heart, catching the light whenever she moved. She touched it gently, still not believing it was real. A knock came at the door. "Come in," said. The door opened, an instructor walked in. He looked older than she remembered. The neural feedback had damaged him more than the doctors had first thought. He walked with a cane now, and his left hand trembled slightly, but his eyes were clear and sharp. "Instructor," said, standing at attention. Smiled and waved his hand. "Please, after what you did, you don't need to stand at attention for me. If anything, I should stand at attention for you." "That's not true," said quickly. "You taught us everything we needed to survive, without your training." "Without my training, you would have figured something out anyway." Sat down heavily in a chair. "I've been a soldier for 30 years. I've seen thousands of recruits come and go. Most of them learn to follow orders. A few learn to give them. But only once in a lifetime do you meet someone who can lead when there are no orders to follow." He looked at her with something that might have been pride. "That night I was unconscious and useless. The system was dead. Every rule and protocol we taught you was meaningless. And what did you do? You created new rules. You made your own protocols. You became the leader that moment needed." Looked at the floor. "I was terrified. Every decision I made, I thought it would kill someone, and 3 people died because of my choices." 3 people died because aliens attacked our bunker," corrected firmly. "You saved 17. That is a ratio that generals would be proud of. I am proud of you. I hope you can be proud of yourself someday." Before could respond, another knock came at the door. This time it was, wearing a crisp new uniform with a communications badge. He looked nervous. "Lieutenant Park," he said formally, "the council is ready for you." Took a deep breath. This was it. The meeting she had been dreading all week. The Earth Defense Council wanted to discuss her future, what role she would play in the war to come. She had tried to prepare herself, but nothing could prepare her for what they might ask. "I'll be right there," she said. Nodded and left, stood up with difficulty and put a hand on her shoulder. "Remember," he said quietly, "you are not alone anymore. You have a team, you have allies, and you have the trust of humanity. Use it wisely." Nodded, she walked out of her quarters and into the corridor, where and were waiting. They had been promoted to sergeant, to weapons specialist first class. They fell in step beside her as she walked toward the council chamber. Nervous? Asked. Terrified? Admitted. Good, said with a grin. You make better decisions when you're terrified. Despite everything, laughed. It felt strange to laugh, like her body had forgotten how, but it also felt good. The council chamber was a massive room at the heart of Seoul Base. Circular walls rose 3 stories high, covered with screens showing data from around the world. In the center was a round table where the most powerful people on Earth sat waiting. Commander O sat at the head. Around her were military leaders, politicians, scientists, and representatives from every continent. They all turned to look as entered. She felt very small. Lieutenant Park, Commander O said, thank you for joining us. Please sit. Took the empty seat at the table. Her heart was pounding so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. We have been discussing your future, Commander O continued. As a Vanguard, you have certain privileges and responsibilities. You have a voice in strategic decisions. You have authority that most officers spend decades earning, but we want to hear from you directly. She leaned forward. What do you want, Lieutenant Park? What role do you see for yourself in this war? Every eye in the room was on. She felt the weight of their expectations, their hopes, their fears. For a moment, she wanted to run, to disappear, to go back to being a quiet medic trainee who nobody noticed. But that person was gone. She had died in Bunker 7, along with the old world. Stood up, her voice was steady when she spoke. I want to train others, she said. Not just to fight, but to think. The system failed because we depended on it too much. We forgot how to function without it. We forgot that the most powerful weapon humanity has is not technology, it's the human mind. She looked around the room. The aliens are smarter than us. They have better weapons, better ships, better everything. But they don't understand us. They don't understand that humans are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. They don't understand that we don't need a system to tell us how to survive. Commander O was watching her with intense interest. Go on. I want to create a new training program, said. One that teaches recruits to lead, not just follow. One that prepares them for the moment when everything goes wrong. Because in war, everything always goes wrong eventually. I want to build an army of people who can think for themselves, adapt to any situation, and never, ever give up. She sat back down. Her hands were shaking under the table, but she kept her face calm. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Commander O smiled. I was hoping you would say something like that, she said. We've already prepared a facility for you. You'll have full authority to recruit and train whoever you want. Resources, equipment, personnel, whatever you need, you'll have. Blinked just like that. Just like that, you've earned it, Vanguard. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing details and logistics, but barely heard any of it. Her mind was racing with possibilities, a chance to make a difference, a chance to prepare humanity for the war to come. When the meeting ended, she walked out of the chamber in a daze, and were waiting outside. Well, asked, what did they say? Looked at them, her team, her friends, her family. They had followed her into hell and back. They would follow her again. They gave me a training program, she said, a chance to build something new. Raised an eyebrow, and you need us. I need you more than anything. Grinned, then I guess we're in. What do we do first? Looked out the window at the sky. Somewhere out there the aliens were waiting, planning their next attack, thinking they had humanity figured out. They were wrong. First, said, we find the next generation of leaders, people who don't know their heroes yet, people who will stand up when the system fails. She turned back to her team with fire in her eyes. The aliens think they broke us. They think the attack proved we're weak, but they don't understand humanity. They don't understand that when you push us to the edge, we push back harder. She smiled. It was a dangerous smile, a hopeful smile. This isn't the end of our story. This is just the beginning. And so it was. In a hospital room in Seoul, a medic trainee had become a Vanguard. In a council chamber, she had been given the power to shape humanity's future. And now, standing with her team, she was ready to use it. The war was coming. But for the first time, humanity was ready. Because of a girl named, who refused to give up. Because of a night when the system failed, and humanity did not. Because sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who never wanted to be heroes at all.